That's a good idea. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. And in the different centers, there's teachers, some of the teachers need an interpreter, translator. And I heard these days, teacher can be here and translator can be somewhere in different states, and they does a online translation through the internet. So maybe the chanting master can be through somebody.
We can really use that here.
Yes. Technology. Yes. Okay. So maybe we'll start with a short meditation. Okay. And in this, maybe I'll just give you a brief introduction, and then I'll stay quiet, and so you can go through the process. In this short meditation, basically, step number one, just observe reactive emotion and reactive thoughts, and this reactive behavior. Just kind of like observe, and just trying to ease that. Just kind of recognize, notice. Again, same kind of like mindfulness meditation, not so much like a waves coming from what is trying to, nothing putting into any kind of category, but just kind of observe and just kind of let go of reactive emotions and reactive reflections and thoughts. Just notice and just kind of like settling. That's the kind of like the step number one. Okay. And the step number two, once you kind of able to settle in peace and ease, and then gradually you're bringing your attention to your breath, or bringing your attention to any kind of positive object that can inspire for you, or at least doesn't store your mind. So then kind of like giving some kind of engagement. The first kind of like a non-engaging, observing the reactive behavior and let going that. The second part, then engaging into your intention into the breath or any kind of positive object that brings inspiration. Okay, so that kind of would be second step. You're moving that, and you kind of be there a little while, and then taking that energy, that strength of your attention, transforming your motivation, then kind of expansion of loving kindness, awakening mind, bodhicitta, then you can expand. So ease yourself at the first, bring your attention, and then expand your motivation. So these three things can go gradually, okay? So for a few moments, stay in silence. So we'll go to the prayer book. So we're going to chant the recitation of the refuge in bodhicitta. Sangye chedam sogye chedam nam chanju gandu dhani gyamsu je dhagi So, this prayer for refuge in bodhicitta, for example, practice of wondro. Wondro means something that, once you kind of sincerely feel Buddhism as your path. And then there is a tradition that exists that you go through practice of refuge, 100,000 accumulation of refuge in bodhicitta. And this was really well-established lineage within the Tibetan Buddhism. I'm not sure exactly in Theravada tradition or in like Buddhism in Sri Lanka, in Burma. Not sure exactly how that kind of like accumulating commitment doing a refuge in bodhicitta for 100,000 times. But I think this tradition is really beautiful. If once you committed, you feel Buddhism into your journey into the spiritual path, and I think I highly encourage within this lifetime something that you will kind of dedicate it doing practice of wonder, something that you want to accumulate refuge, 100,000. And that's kind of like a tradition. You can do more than that. Okay. That's also then important part. Again, we human being, when you say 100,000 times repetition, then already we want to speed. 100,000, we want to get there 100,000 as soon as possible, because we are so much habit with the deadline, deadline culture. So we apply deadline culture to everything. This is my deadline, and you're trying. In worst case, you're trying to do the last minute. So this habit somehow interferes, and we kind of lose the quality. When you're doing, basically what I'm saying is you can commit it to doing 100,000 refuge accumulation, but you can start with a daily basis, three times. 3 recitation in a daily basis. That's your commitment that you want to, even you can do that way. Okay, I'll just recite 3 times a refuge every day, and this is my commitment to accumulating 100,000 times. But again, in your mind, it might take eons and something like that. So it is not like that. You should not feel that. Basically, this is going to take a eon, or this is one extreme, or one extreme is I want to finish immediately, as soon as possible. So this both extreme comes from deadline culture. Everything having deadline. So something that basically having flexibility. Practice have to be flexibility. Your journey in a spiritual path have to be flexibility. It should not be like very rigid. When you have a really busy and complicated time, you can shorten the practice. Once you have a kind of more longer in a space and time, you can expand. So practice, your daily practice should be like having that kind of flexibility. Otherwise, you have a very fixed structure of your practice, and you kind of like strongly kind of pushing that fixed structure for every part of your life, daily life, then you are kind of like making very difficulty. So flexibility is a skillful means way to, basically the point is it able to keep a consistent. So anything is a transformation happens when there is a consistency. Consistent is like kind of the key thing. So, refuge, 100,000 refuge accumulation, wonder practice, which is considered as a very powerful commitment, and from the karmic point of view, really powerful karmic impact into your spiritual journey, and due to that impact of your practice into your life, sometimes you say, I'm doing practice every day, but I'm not changing, I'm the same. Even sometimes I'm getting worse. I think one element that sometimes we not give enough attention is merit, positive karma, virtue karmic accumulation. Like lots of advice even in the Lamrim, the practitioners did everything according to instruction. And the practitioners are really following everything without mistake into the T. But still not making progress. And what should I do in such a case? And there's advice in the Lamrim, it says, merit accumulation related with the merit field. So when we say merit accumulation, is basically with the merit field means basically when you do merit accumulation, when you have something positive karmic connection with the object, that makes through the dependent origination from that kind of reality, it have a much more impact into the merit accumulating by yourself. So therefore, when it's a merit field, basically what it's talking about is the lineage blessing. Lineage. And the lineage, how this lineage happens, this lineage concept, how this happens. Lineage things is this kind of like a spiritual connection. This happens very much spontaneity. There's nothing specifically, organized, go this way, do this way, at the beginning. So lineage, when you're going through your own lineage, the first time when you're kind of connecting with the spiritual path, that part is a very kind of spontaneity. And that lineage, that basically, we will say spontaneity, but in reality, all this function happen very strong basis of your own karmic connection. Okay, so therefore, that kind of a karmic connection with the lineage, your own personal lineage, becomes very powerful way to accumulating merit. The merit, basically that means strong positive potential within your own mind stream and within your own. It is just awake. It's just kind of like established. It's kind of like a propensity, imprint, potential. When it's the merit, it's just nature of energy, nature of a positive energy, potential. Okay, so anyway, in our life, not the skill or the awareness or the engagement, not only by that can make a progress. Lots of progress also depends into the fundamental foundation of your own merit. Merit is not necessarily logic-based. Okay, so this is something that, in a way, it is beyond kind of explanation, but it's much more intuition. So it is something is very crucial into the spiritual journey, and that kind of merit accumulation was done through the practice of a refuge and bodhicitta. Practice of a refuge and bodhicitta is the fundamental foundation for accumulation of a merit. Okay. So this kind of commitment, if you're able to do. And also last night we were talking about fear. And from the Tibetan Buddhist perspective, lack of merit also make a vulnerability or opens to lots of fear. Okay? More the merit, maybe external condition looks like may create lots of fear condition, but individual person, due to the strength of their own karmic merit, fear interference is very minimized. Okay, so merit also, not only individuals practice and the strength, but also one key component to way to overcome from fear and to preventing interference of your own fear is something merit. Virtue, merit, foundation somehow less interferes fear into our life. Even the same thing yesterday we were talking, even something happens, resilient, overcoming from that fear and back to grounding. This happens due to individuals' merit. Okay, so therefore, this concept, this tradition of 100,000 accumulation of a refuge practice, this becomes very important because spiritual journey. As like a conventional journey, there's a lot of kind of areas that we can create lots of fear and doubt. And same thing in a spiritual journey, there's an area that can create lots of fear and doubt. Okay, so merit accumulation. Merit accumulation is one of the fundamental. So basically, merit is kind of like the ground, and the kind of like the foundation. And also, 대범해를 미나나 가르치는 게 사회 메시보다 디용 지셔노스. So basically, the individual's awareness, consciousness, constantly caught into doubt or uncertainty or fear. Once we're caught into that one, we have a very less opportunity to be able to accumulate merit. And merit comes from mental state of mind, we call the faith or devotion, a faith. Now, this word faith have a many different meaning. In the Lamrim, there's 3 different types of faith was introduced. So therefore, Taiwan mentioning symptoms. The analogy of a faith, usually it's mentioned as like pure water. Water that without store, is still undisturbed. That water have an easily full moon reflection. The water which is disturbed or stirred, reflection of the full moon can become, not easy. So, in the text, when we say like, the presence of a blessing of the Buddhas and Bodhisattva, presence of a blessing of an enlightened being, is always there, wherever, whenever is an omnipresent spiritual blessing, but due to like the disturbed water, like our mind stream, when it's constantly, disturbed by the doubt and the fear and the insecure feeling, then there's no way to kind of reflect the blessing, enlightened blessing. It's like the moon cannot reflect. There's no way to get a full moon reflection into disturbed water. So therefore, anyway, faith as a pure state of a mind that which is free from doubt and fear, particularly mind that is much more free from state of doubt. Okay, and this doubt over here, what I'm saying is kind of like a doubt which have lots of elements of fear, lots of doubt that have lots of elements of aggression. Okay, so anyway, this refuge, 100,000 refuge accumulation practice is 100,000 exercising this kind of like a pure state of a mind. You are trying to accumulating this kind of pure state of a mind. So anyway, just encouraging you to, if you feel the time and circumstances is right, inspirations there, then it's really good, important. Okay, and also sometimes I encourage, some of my friends when they say I'm going through a state of a very insecure feeling, state of a very doubtful and this kind of feeling going through, and particularly since the feeling of very lonely feeling, and then I'll usually encourage a spiritual practice, maybe slowly go through the journey of accumulation of refuge and bodhicitta. Going through practice of refuge and bodhicitta, when you take that kind of spiritual journey, and you kind of like basically sense of feeling of a presence of an enlightened being with you forever. And then I think that's kind of a very powerful practice. So anyway, sometimes I'll encourage that, instead of spiritually maybe engage more into the practice of refuge and bodhicitta. And also, I sometimes also encourage practice of four imageable. Sometimes your individual karmic result of suffering becomes so big, you are so much caught into it, and sometimes you are not able to get out, and it becomes kind of like a sense of feeling of like, I'm only suffering, the rest of my friends all are fine. Only I'm suffering so much, the rest of everything they seems like fine. And intellectually, we know that's not true, but emotionally, it gives you that message, and you listen and you play that music again and again, 100,000 times. So therefore, this practice of a four imageable, this is also, I think, really kind of eye-opening. Maybe your habit is telling, I'm only suffering. And then when you recite countermeasure for imageable practice, you reflect it. I think that can pull you out from that kind of like a drowning into that deception, and it can pull it out. So also, if you're sometimes feeling that kind of things, then practice of a four imageable practice is excellent practice, a very powerful practice. practice. And put into your refrigerator, sometimes your commitment put on the refrigerator, or bumper sticker into your car, or something that reminds you all the time. So refuge in bodhicitta practice and the practice of four immutable. These two are really is there, okay? Practice that we can do, okay? Then in the long term, short-term plan and long-term plan, 5-year plan, and the usual stuff. Maybe long-term plan. So anyway, my key point is here. In the practice of refuge and bodhicitta is also, let me go back once. There's one of my friends, and she was grown into a Catholic family, studying Catholic school, and then later in her life, and then one day she saw His Holiness teaching, and the first thing in her feeling, I want to be like him. Okay. So refuge and bodhicitta practice is something like that. We have to have a long-term plan. Is I want to become Buddha. I want to be free. I want to be free as not so much as a selfish, as an individual. So I can engage. I have a full potential. That kind of feeling. So refuge and bodhicitta feeling practice. We have to have that. I want to become Buddha. And then you study Buddhism, and then you feel like, oh, I'm very, very far from becoming Buddha. I'm so far. No, I cannot become Buddha. Then if somebody says, I want to become Buddha, then you say, oh, maybe good luck. Now this is, I think, one thing that we need to, this feeling of I'm so far, and maybe somebody's close to Buddha, or if somebody's trying, I rejoice, and good luck, or something, this kind of feeling is, I think it is not healthy and not good. So now the really fundamental question comes, me become enlightened being. Like, is this like a huge millions of miles, or what is that? Okay, so I have one theory. Maybe sentient being and enlightened being, the difference between the sentient beings and the enlightened being, I would say, generally speaking, maybe 99% maybe sentient. We and Buddha are pretty much the same. Maybe there's the 1% that superimpose it and become really big. So we thought me and Buddha have a big difference. maybe I'm getting old, so I'm thinking in that way. Oh, I'm not too far. Only 1%. Maybe I'm thinking only 1%. 99% I'm saying exactly like an enlightened being. Okay. So the reason I'm saying the difference in Buddhist philosophy, ultimately, samsara and nirvana is one nature, one taste. Conventionally, is some kind of different. So relatively, so I'm giving within the true concept of a true truth, ultimate truth and conventional truth. Ultimate truth have a 99%, and the conventional truth have a 1%. So that's my kind of like a theory. So in that 1%, then a proportion is there's exaggeration, and there's emotional, and there's all that thing becomes really big. So 99%. So I think when we need to think much more strong from the 99% perspective, and really make a strong transformation for this 1% that really kind of becomes hindrance and obstacles. Okay. So therefore, what I'm saying over here is this, I think, reality needs to be looked at it. And then now the question comes, okay, if that's the good news, now then I want to become Buddha now. You become impatient. I want to become Buddha now, tomorrow. Yeah. So that's, that's whole, that need to be individually, we need to kind of like understand, and understanding of cause and effect, So, but in a way, many times discouragement for our own life in our own spiritual journey is superimposed the 1% that the obstacle that we face, and we kind of emotionally involved, and then becomes really big. I think as a fundamental nature in the core reality, there's a full potential, full potential. So I think practice of a refuge in bodhicitta had to have that element, kind of saying like, yes, I can become Buddha. Not just I hope, I pray, like this kind of feeling of I can. Once that this kind of small details interferes, then you kind of like in a time being we can ignore that kind of thing. This small detail interference, discouragement happens for every part of our life. I cannot do this because this. And that is kind of like a manifestation of one part is kind of laziness, and one part is kind of like a little bit we need a lack of awareness. Okay. So therefore, practice of refuge in bodhicitta, having that inspiration and that not feeling a big gap. Okay, that's very important. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next practice, the Heart Sutra. I prostrate to the three noble realms. Das de da here, one time the Bhagavan was the winner as a largest mountain in Rajagya, together with the great community of monks and the great community of Bodhis. In the time the Bhagavan was also in the concentration on the category of also in the time the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara every practice of the profound perfection. And behold, those I having is also has empty of inherent each. Then through the power of Buddha, the Rinpoche send this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any servant of initiation who wishes to practice the activity of the perfect perfection isn't in the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara send this to the Venerable Shariputra Sanatana Beingjo daughter of the who wishes to practice the activity of the proper perfection. Shurlokambane learn this correctly and repeatedly. Behold, the Lord every is also as empty of inherent. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than empty. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition of factors and consciousness. Shariputra likewise all phenomena are emptiness without characteristics, unproduced, unsisting, no without sin, no death, no proof. Shariputra, therefore in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition, no consciousness, no I, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no vision, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no pain, no. There is no I element and so on, including mind, and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance. All of truth, including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging. Similarly, there is no suffering, no regeneration, cessation. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Therefore, because there is no attainment, Bodhisattvas rely on the perfection of the mind without observation and without having completely passed beyond eroding. Therefore, Buddhas who dwell in 3 days and also manifest completely awaking to themselves, perfect, completely enlightened in the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsettled mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies should be known as truth and the mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared Tayata Gati Gati Para Gati Para Sangha Bodhisattva Shariputra the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Shudraninda Bhavamba Prajna Wisdom. Then the Bhagavan was a Bhagavatam Krishna Kamindra the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Aya Havalogi Deshora saying was a one son of the Nish by the Buddhism. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indeed. Even the Tathagatas which are the Bhagavan having spoken the Brahma the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Aya Avalokiteshvara and the surrounding India entirety along with the world of God's humans, asuras and Gandhas. O journey, I praises spoken by the Bhagavan. Okay. A collective karma is very powerful and very, very important, particularly like an institution or center or group, particularly spiritual group. Positive collective karma becomes a fundamental foundation. So therefore, like a group practice, group merit accumulation, 100,000, as I'm really talking from the perspective of an individual spiritual journey. Now, as a Sangha member, as a community, and then also they have the same kind of sometimes when you at the beginning, when you start in Dharma group or Dharma community, I think it's kind of like a group effort of accumulation of refuge, 100,000 refuge, like as it comes as it together, and not necessarily you have to be under the one roof all the time, but kind of like as a group commitment, as accumulating merit, and particularly accumulation of refuge and bodhicitta practice. I think it will be really important. It sets karmic ground, a powerful karmic spiritual ground. There is a kind of like a spiritual interaction, a karmic interaction, and that becomes kind of like which really holds in the long term as a Sangha member, as a community member, much more spiritually rooted. So I think also I will encourage this kind of like a group effort of accumulation of a refuge in bodhicitta, 100,000. When there's like many people together, and then okay, now we have many people who do in 1 week. Now again, the discipline goes same thing. We're not trying to go through so fast. Okay, now we have okay, 30 people signed already, maybe we should finish in 1 week, or all that kind of things. Again, goes through the same kind of process. Not necessarily. You have to have the space and freedom and the quality on the process. Okay? No individual deadline and no group deadline. Okay, so okay, so this kind of and then it's the same thing, and there's a group dedication. As yesterday we were talking about the intention and the rejoice and the dedication, the kind of same process. You integrate it into the part of the journey. You have a like set group intention. The kind of like a setting up the pure foundation, and then there's a group effort of rejoice. Kind of collected rejoice, and there's a collective dedication. And these becomes like a fundamental foundation for the strength of the community, and that community can bring impact into the bigger, wider community. So marriage accumulation as an individually becomes very crucial, and as a community, as a group, as a spiritual group particularly, that becomes really important. So this kind of like a inspiration will be important. And then in the refuge, practice of refuge, once we, so basically, what's the today topic? How to live? Huh?
In difficult times.
Okay, how to live in difficult times. We have to get refuge insurance. So basically, this kind of joint efforts of a positive accumulation merit, I think that will be source of inspiration to way to live. Okay. Okay. Basically, although time and environment must be really I don't know, now one story came in my mind, I'm not sure it's relevant or not. you can interpret it. Okay. After 1959, all the monks, they all stay in one refugee camp in, I think, they call Baksa, I think, eastern part of India, more northeast part of India. And I know these two teachers, and at that time, the living condition is very difficult, so two of students wants to build small hut for their teacher to have a kind of separate place where he can practice or they can go to see him. So that's kind of their intention. So those two students, and then they decided, okay, we want to build a small hut for him, so let's go to get some bamboos, and they have to make a bamboo hut. And so two of them kind of decided and went to the cut some bamboo, collecting some bamboo, and they're walking through the jungle. And I think it's kind of like a little bit kind of hill and more steep, so they're kind of crossing through there. It's like one is in the front, one is coming in the back. And they're crossing like that in the jungle. So there's one corner where there's kind of like a turning point. And suddenly they counter with a wild buffalo. Wild buffalo is what you said is?
Water buffalo.
Hmm?
Water buffalo.
It's like wild, the big, like a ball, like okay, wild, like a bison, like a huge, the bull, like wild bull. So they're going to, so they got, in this corner, the bull was coming and they got accident seeing each other. And the bull freaked out and charged for them. This in the jungle, it's the wild. So charge. The monk who in the front, he kind of quick thinking, so he just climbed up of the mountain. And the second one caught into the shock, so he ran kind of backwards, so that the bull charged him. Charge him. So he ran as much as possible. Somehow he fell down. And then there's a kind of grass. So now he can see the bull is so, how you say, like kind of making the noise and showing he's, all the, he's doing like, and then he pretend he's not, he was kind of still, and from eye he can see the bull, and he was so amazed, like it was like so big and strong, and in one part of his mind, okay, this bull going to kill me today, and maybe this is my last time. So there's that fear. He says that somehow he fell down and bull get kind of couldn't find him. He says they are not too far from each other. So he was scared, but at the same time also seeing so amazing. And the only thing he said he did is he stayed trying to stay calm and not react and stay. Even in some cases, he pretended he's dead already. So basically, there's dangers of an attack by this bull, but he didn't keep his thought into that. It's going to kill me, or am I going to make it? There's a million things can go think, but he just looked at in the part of the eye. He just looking at this bull and see, wow. It's amazing. And then particularly he's on the ground, he says like maybe that kind of like a perspective also. So he was a kind of thinking, kind of like not caught into the, am I going to make it or not? Am I doing this? All this question, he didn't say like, it came, but he didn't stick into that. And just kind of see. He didn't ignore, but he didn't really try and clear that again. But he's just looking into this book. And then suddenly there's a big noise. Noise came, kind of like falling down noise. And the bull went after that noise. It was another monk. He tried to climb a tree. And he fell down. So the bull went to him. So then he got his, okay, this is my chance now to get away from the danger. So he said he ran and he found some big rocks. So he's kind of say he climbed up and just trying to. He said, well, he don't know what to do with his friend. Now bull is he trying to climb the tree, he fell down. So that noise gave attention to the bull. So now he can see his friend and the bull there, and the middle of the trees in the between them, and he have only protection by this tree. And his friend is shouting, "Okay, bring more people, do something." Then he says, "Okay, keep do what you're doing. I'll try to find some friends to rescue you." And then this monk, and then he said, "Okay, I need to go and find more people." And then so now then the monk who was now he have a period of time that he have the same thing, that he's not sure he was going to make it, because he said this bull, he would go back and he would hit the tree, and each time when he hits, really it shakes. It's really kind of, if he continued doing this, he thought like he was going to knock down the tree and come out. So there's that fear. Then the monk, he told me, and then he said, okay, now I should go through Heart Sutra process, meditation of reciting Heart Sutra, and really trying to be his state of awareness of a kind of like Heart Sutra. So basically, then he says, the bull came hitting several times, and you have that fear. Then suddenly he trying to recite the Heart Sutra. Then he says, the minute when he's starting doing the Heart Sutra, maybe also the bull is tired, or all combination, power of the Heart Sutra and bull is giving up, or is tired together, and it's kind of like a slowly backing up, somehow. So in when you're looking into both these cases, the second monk, he trying to climb, but then he slipped, unfortunately. He couldn't stay too long on the tree. Maybe with these robes, together. As a human being, survival and all that kind of fear related with the survival, that's I think an initial reaction, or that definitely it will happen. But then I think in both cases they process through kind of accepting, at the same time being mindful, accepting, mindful. They didn't stuck into one mantra, now I'm not going to make it, now I'm not going to make it. Okay, situation is real, I accept it. Okay, here I have to be calm and clear. So sometime in a difficulty time, there's the most, I think, obstacle is not accepting. Is one of the most obstacle that we are not able to overcome. Acknowledging really opens up. Rejecting and non-accepting, maybe we did it that for protection, but it's actually harming more further than that it is doing something good. So, so in the story, these two monks, and the monk who fell from the tree, he told me later, he thought maybe this bull is a manifestation of a Dhamma protector. That he thought he kind of avoided several practice sessions. In that particular practice session, there is a part of the practice. There is a practice of a shibdak. Shibdak is kind of like an environmental protector, and he thought this bull is one of the manifestations of the environmental protector. So he was not participating into that practice. So now he paid the price. Anyway, the monk who fall in the grass, he didn't tell me any particular interpretation. He was kind of like, that happened. It was funny. It was scary and funny and all things. And okay. So that's the main thing, today's topic. How to live in difficult time, just accept. Not ignoring, not rejecting, and accepting and acknowledging, and that's really opens doors to moving forward. Okay, moving forward. How to moving forward? Acknowledge and accept it, and then be able to move forward. Okay. Sense of feeling of stuck. That is the most obstacle, particularly in a difficulty time. In difficulty time, as an individual, our own karmic circumstances, we have go through our own difficulty, and as a group also. But there's once we feel a sense of stuck. Okay. And then in the sutra, I mean, there's many layers. There's many layers in a traditionally Luma Jingtrul Kisung. Basically, there's one particularly practice called liberating your body, speech, and mind. This is some kind of press shorter. Sometimes when individuals feel in your life some kind of blockage, sometimes this kind of feeling in your chest, sometimes this kind of sense of block as a whole. Of course, there's a practical and spiritually, there's this kind of like a marching song. This is some kind of recitation that in traditionally in Tibet we do that kind of recitation, particularly the individual person, kind of blockage into their life, kind of sense of feeling stuck, and and from the prayer and from the practice, this kind of marching to liberating body, speech, and mind, that kind of sometimes these prayer also like when we have a statue, we have a feeling into the statue, the mantra roll. and sometimes we do this kind of like emulate, kind of this particular sutra making emulate as a keeping as a protection to overcome, not caught into this kind of blockage and able to liberate, and also sometimes recitation. Sometimes we request for the master to recite and to dedicate these kind of things. So, not only kind of like the word saying, accepting, and acknowledge is easy to say it, but in actual to putting into karmically, it have many different efforts. Prayer and dedications, your own effort, and there's many elements together to able to overcome. Okay. And then one key thing is, sometimes difficulty. Sometimes we have, tell one. It's not story. This all I say story, but this real thing happened. Okay. There's one of my students, and. All the time she will say she's not happy. It's not, wherever we meet some pilgrimage sites, I'm not happy. Then, after 1 month later, and then in the memory, when it's coming to memory, yeah, it was really nice. It was really good. But somehow we are never able to live in the present moment. Okay, never able to live in the present moment. Somehow things are, either we are stuck with a negative memory or painful memory, and we are living with a painful memory and not able to live with the present moment. Somehow we kind of, again, that is a real sign of stuck with that painful memory. Okay? So really, key point is sometimes this concept of moving forward. Fundamental foundation of a way to moving forward is first step is able to live in the present moment, and that will really give you a foundation to moving forward. Moving forward is not about just thinking about what you're going to do in the future. Again, that becomes similar kind of things. You're stuck in the past or you're stuck in the future. It's not to ignore both hopes and fears, but somehow able to fully aware, but you are much more trying to bring in your awareness and action into in the present moment. So therefore, practice of a mindfulness and the practice of a loving kindness and compassion, these are crucial spiritual exercising to way to bring in the present moment. And philosophical speaking, there's some of the Buddhist schools, there's a past and future doesn't exist. What is exist in the present moment? Only present is exist. Some philosophical belief only exists from the time present exists. Past doesn't exist, future doesn't exist. None exist basically point of view. They are just kind of like an imputed reality. Past and future is just kind of imputed reality. Presence is a substance, something that exists. So based on this kind of philosophical belief, that translates into a practice. Basically the point is to bringing our awareness into the present moment, which also becomes foundation to where to move in the future. Okay, how to transform our past, where to move forward in the future. So therefore, so again, acceptance and all these karmic purifications and blessings and all these conditions put together, then we can able to live, how to live in a difficult period of time and how to move forward. Okay. The reason I'm saying accepting, when I was growing up in a monastery when small, we have a Monday, Tuesday is our holiday. And one of my favorite way to enjoy the holiday is to listen the monks who escaped from Tibet and their journey. I really like to listen. And they will tell their journey, how they felt at that moment, And when they tell all these stories, they're so. When I look back right now, they have like so much acceptance. Okay, is a very desperate situation. Yes, they don't know what they're doing. Okay, let's go India, this direction. Let's go south. Yeah. There's the mountains and so many things. I have no idea how to go. Just follow south. Okay, let's go. But there's lots of how you say? While they're telling all their journey, now I look back. There's lots of acceptance. Not so much like they will get very emotional and angry towards to the Chinese. It's nothing that kind of things. This is kind of, I think. Then when they came to India and they's okay, the acceptance, okay, we'll face it, we'll go through, take this journey. So they're able to preserve, they're able to practice, continue their journey. And I remember one monk, now he's a very senior, now he's 84. But that time I think he was quite young, and then he said he wants to fight. So he said, okay, now this is he was trying to justify, okay, this is a purpose of Dharma, okay, I'm going to fight, I want to get a weapon. And somehow he got some gun. And he said he wants to fight with the communist Chinese. Anyway, he have a gun, and then everybody is escaping from Tibet. So one of Geshe Sopala, Geshe Sopala in Deer Park, Geshe-la was escaping, and he was so happy. Okay, now I can go with the Geshe-la, I can protect him, and so on and so forth. He was so excited. And then they all had tea together, and then later Geshe-la called him, come here. You have two choices. Either you can come with me and live behind this, or if you stick with this, you cannot come with me. You have only two choices. If you carry these things, you cannot come with me. You leave this behind, you can come with me. And then he was so excited. He was, okay, I'm doing this for Dharma and blah, blah, blah. And then he felt that he was shocked. And then somehow he felt later, he was so stupid that he said, okay, I want to fight for Dharma. Then he didn't travel with the Geshe-la. So he said, so then Geshe-la gave him two choices. If you're carrying these things, you cannot come with me. So then Geshe-la made very clear what the choices are. So then he cannot go with Geshe-la. So somehow he was sad. He had another his friend, young reckless. And then anyway, the long story short, so that they carried these things so when they reached to border to India, they didn't saw one single Chinese military, and then they just carried this up to Indian border. And when they came to Indian border, they blaming to each other. When Geshe-la told Libri, you should do it, and no, you did it that, so now we are carrying this up to India border. And they felt like so, foolish, and all this carrying up to border. Then another unfortunate happened, and then they thought, okay, at least let's have some fun. So they did target shooting. And again, then that target shooting, they didn't make lots of noise. And one high Rinpoche was escaping, and they thought there's lots of battle going on. So they escaped back. And later when they came to India, they hear all these things, what they done, what they done. They were like all these, they were like so regretting, and so sense of feeling of kind of like guilty, and went through really complicated things. So anyway, so basically, due to difficulty time, these two young, they lived through aggression. I think like kind of lived through fear. Like this can reduce. Through it. So now the unexpected consequence. They thought they can go with the Geshe-la, travel. No, they thought, all that things. So it's like this was like basically a result of staying with the fear and aggression. Just like even this time when I was in India, he was just talking about this one. It's just like he's now 84 years old, and it's like a foolish decision that he did it. Okay, anyway. So today is 8:30. Maybe I'll stop earlier today. Okay. Nothing particularly. So anyway, thank you very much. My unorganized talk. Recently, I was in one of the Catholic university in San Juan, Puerto Rico. They asked me to give a Buddhism for non-Buddhism. The topic was Buddhism for non-Buddhism, and again, I warned them, it won't be too organized. don't expect like very organized structure. I just warned them, that's going to happen, okay. So anyway, based on a good intention, so thank you very much. Thank you very much. And my prayer and dedication for all of you to have a good Dharma practice and a profound Dharma practice and flourishing your spiritual journey. Okay? Thank you. Thank you so much.